So 44 tells you to use a quadratic formula and choose the one that's correct. So I'm going to move everything to one side, so that means the 4 moves over to the left side. I'll write it this color too, x squared plus 7x minus 4. But I always check to see if it factors. It does factor, and I know it tells you to use a quadratic formula. There should have been another example here where you had to use a quadratic formula, but you don't. So this is positive 8x and negative 1x. And so that's what I'm going to use in my 2 by 2. 2x squared, 8x, negative x, negative 4. So I can factor out a 2x, gives me x here, 4 here, and then a negative 1. So my factors are 2x minus 1, x plus 4 is 0, so x is 1/2 or negative 4. So 1/2 or negative 4, the answer is A. So for 45, I'm going to factor out, first move the 16 over. Then I'm going to factor out a negative 2. And so factors of 8 that add up to 9 is 8 and 1. And so x is negative 1 and negative 9. Whoops, my mistake, sorry. Should be negative 8. So that should be 8, and so negative 8. There. So 46, they move the 1 over, the negative 1, and becomes positive 1 on the left side. So this one does not factor, so this one you do have to use a quadratic formula. So you get x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2a. So let me just write it up here. Negative 7 plus or minus the square root of 49 minus 4 all over 2, which is negative 7 plus or minus the square root of 45 all over 2. Now 45 is 9 times 5, so the square root of 9 is 3. So this becomes negative 7 plus or minus 3 radical 5 all over 2. And that's what x equals. Alright, so for 47, they don't want you to solve, just to list all the possible rational zeros. So the p-values are plus or minus 1, 2, 11, and 22. The q-values are plus or minus 1 or 2, and 2. So we're going to take all of these numbers over these numbers and simplify whenever possible. So I'll start with 1, and you get plus or minus 1 over 1, then plus or minus 1 over 2. Then you go on to 2. Plus or minus 2 over 1, which is 2, and 2 over 2 is 1, and it's already there, so you don't have to write it. Plus or minus 11 over 1, and then plus or minus 11 over 2. Then you move on to the 22, plus or minus 22 over 1, and 22 over 2 is 11, and it's already there. So that's the list right there. 48 is true or false. So for A, substituting negative 2 for x is in P of x. This is another typo. So in P of x results in negative 20. So here we have the remainder, negative 20. There's a negative right there, so this is true. Because we did divide by x plus 2, which means we substituted negative 2 for x. X plus 2 is not a factor of P of x. That's true, because we did not get remainder 0, so that statement is true. P of negative 2 does not equal 0. That's true. It equals negative 20. So that's true. 2 is not a 0 of P of x. And how you know that is replace the do synthetic division with 2 and see what you get. Let's see. So bring down the 4. That's 8, 11, 22. That's 11. 22. That's 25. 50 and you get 40. So yeah, the answer is true. It's not a 0. You get 40. So for 49, if 7 minus 5i is a root of a polynomial, which must be another root? Its conjugate. So it's 7 plus 5i. And number 50, find all the zeros, show your work. So what I'm going to do here, I notice it's not a quadratic, but anytime this power is twice as big as that power in a trinomial where the last one is a constant, you could see if it factors like a quadratic. So factors of negative 16 that add up to positive 15 are be positive 16 and negative 1. So it's going to look like this. X squared plus 16 and x squared minus 1, like that. So so that's going to be 0. Okay, so now for this one, you set this equal to 0, and you get x equals, let me show you the steps. Subtract 16, take the square root, so x is plus or minus 4i. So plus or minus 4i. And for the second one, this one right here, you set it equal to 0 again, so you get x squared minus 1 is 0. X squared equals 1, you take the square root and you get plus or minus 1. Right there. For number 51, write a polynomial function in standard form. Okay, that has those zeros, so I know that I'm going to have to add a third 0, because since 2 plus I is a 0, then 2 minus I has to also be a 0. So let me see. I need a little bit more space on what I have here. So I'll find the polynomial for these two. Let me set it up. So it's going to be f of x minus 3, x minus 2 plus I. Remember, you always set up the polynomial with x minus the 0. Whatever the 0 is, it's x minus that. So when you simplify this, we get x minus 3, x minus 2 minus I, because we're distributing the negative, x minus 2 plus I. Okay? So this is the part where I'm going to, let's see, move it out of the way. I'll just use another page. So I had, this is still for 51. So I had x minus 2 minus I and x minus 2 plus I. Okay, positive I. So I'm going to multiply. Just negative xi, 2i, and negative I squared. So right here, this one cancels with this one, and this one cancels with this one. This here is positive 1, and these two are like terms, right? So I have x minus 3, that's from the first 0, and times x squared minus 4x. Now I have 4 plus 1, that's going to give me 5. Okay, so now I'm going to draw another, this time it's a 2 by 3, x minus 3, x squared minus 4x, and 5. So that's x cubed minus 4x. Oops, I forgot the x squared, right? And then 5x, negative 3x squared, 12x minus 15. So my polynomial, my final answer is going to be x cubed minus 7x squared plus 17x minus 15. Right there. Okay, so for number 52, it's asking you to choose all polynomials that have two complex zeros. So complex zeros are the ones with imaginary or roots, complex roots, these are ones with imaginary numbers, okay? So the first one is you can factor as x squared plus 1 and x squared minus 1. This is going to give you two real numbers, but this is going to give you two imaginary numbers, plus or minus I. So this one would do that. Right here, this is a difference of two squares, right? So it's only going to give you 1 plus or minus 1. Those are real numbers, not imaginary, so that's not going to work. And then for C, I look at 10, and it does not factor by grouping, so I'm going to have to do the synthetic division. All factors of 10 are plus or minus 1, 2, 5, and 10. So I'm going to set it up like this. So you bring down the 1. 1 times 1 is 1. Minus 7 is negative 6. Negative 6 times 1 is negative 6. Plus 12 is 6. 6 times 1 is 6. Minus 10 is negative 4. So this one doesn't work. 2. Bring down the 1. 2 times 1 is 2. Minus 7 is negative 5. 2 times negative 5, negative 10. Plus 12 gives you 2. 2 times 2, 4. 4 minus 10, negative 6. So that one doesn't work. 5, bring down the 1. 5 times 1 is 5, minus 7 is negative 2. 5 times negative 2 is negative 10, plus 12 is positive 2. And 5 times 2 is 10. 10 minus 10 is 0. So this one worked, okay? So we have one real 0, and this means that it's x squared minus 2x plus 2. When you think of the discriminant in the quadratic formula, the b squared minus 4ac, it's negative 2 squared minus 4 times a times c. This gives you an imaginary number. So this is going to give you two complex answers. So that's, and on the key today in class, I didn't write that one down. I guess I didn't finish it because I was still working on it and I forgot to check it. So that one is included. And notice how this is the same as this right here. So this is also two imaginary solutions or complex solutions. Okay, so we're talking about two people, Kevin and Laura. It says together they clean the tank in 2 hours. When Kevin works alone, it takes him 3 hours longer than Laura to clean the tank. How long would it take Laura to clean the tank if she works by herself? So for Kevin, it says it takes him 3 hours longer than Laura. So let's say that Laura is x, time x. So for Laura, and then the time, this is her rate, but together they clean it in 2 hours. For Kevin, it says that it takes him 3 hours longer than her, right? So it's going to be x plus 3 times 2 to finish the job. So I get 2 over x plus 2 over x plus 3 equals 1. So the least common denominator here is x times x plus 3. So I'm going to multiply 2 by, let me change the color. I'm going to multiply this one by x plus 3 times x, and then do the same thing here. It's kind of crowded. X plus 3, and then the 1, 2. Let me erase the LCD. And then x times x plus 3. Excuse me. So I'm going to cross out the x right here, the x plus 3 right here, and on the right side nothing cancels. So that leaves me with, I'm going to distribute the 2 here, 2x plus 6, and then the 2 times x equals, and then distribute right here, x squared plus 3x. I'm going to move everything to the right side so that I have x squared positive on the right side. So this is 4x, so I'm going to subtract 4x, and this is 6, I'm going to subtract 6. So now the left side is 0. So 0 equals x squared minus x minus 6. So factors of negative 6 that add up to negative 1 are negative 3 and 2. So x is 3.